Ah, that's a bit grubby. And the firebox needs a clean. Oh, well, there we go. That's another job done. So today I was thinking the sun's shining and I've got to get out. However, I don't actually have very much diesel, and there's very few places locally that I haven't been to that I could just walk to. So the plan today is I want to do some cooking on the Esse. I want to show you how easy and how lovely it is to cook on the Esse. So I'm going to do a bit of an experiment with a chicken and leek pie. That's the idea. I'm going to want to make, I don't want to make the chicken, but I want to make the pastry and give it a whirl and possibly do something with potatoes. I'm thinking, and I don't know if this is going to work out, possibly crispy potato chips, of which I'm going to maybe parboil the potatoes, slice them, and then bake them in the oven. So we'll see how that goes. But before all of that, because the sun is shining and I haven't been out, I am going to go up on one of my favourite walks. And I've made a video about this before, but I just need to get some fresh air and see some of the landscape. So I'm going to take you with me. Come on. I've taken myself off to the southern slopes of the Southdowns and parked up besides the Hill Barn Recreation Ground in North Worthing. It's been raining recently, so I'm gonna put on my trusty walking boots. I pass the golf course as I make my way up the footpath that will lead me northwards towards the Neolithic hill fort. Whether I get that far is another matter. Well, it's lovely to get out, I can tell you. Very nice. I haven't been out for a proper walk, certainly not over the downs, for a couple of weeks. I had my isolation problem and went to Suffolk and I was being taken around in a car. So I haven't really, I know I did a rain walk fairly recently, but I'm not going to count that as a proper walk. This is a vigorous one because you're climbing up, so I'm probably going to get out of breath very quickly. And I notice I've made a boo-boo here, should have brought the other microphone because it's going to be very windy. Hey ho, the sun is shining and that is the main thing. I don't know how muddy it's going to be, probably quite muddy in places, although the downs, of course, the water does sort of go through the chalk, fortunately, but there is a layer of clay which it may sit on. So I'm not wearing any Wellington boots or anything. And I notice that the golf course is in full swing. It's actually quite busy. That's it's great to see people are out taking advantage of this sun. So every now and again I'll hear the little ting as a ball is whacked across the green. Is it the fair? The fair? The fair green? The fair? I'm not a golfer, I don't know. The fairway. There you go. Got there in the end. We've had such a wet year, really, not that much sunshine, and these paths now have become a little enclosed with all this undergrowth, which is great to see. Lots of fresh air coming from it, and I notice here I've got some haw-berries, but there are also other berries on the trees, on the bushes, which is fantastic. And strawberries, blackberries, of course, are very much, I think, now coming to the end of their season. Not as prolific, I noticed, this year than in previous years that we've had, sadly. found a little pathway that was obviously overgrown and has been trimmed. People have come up here, volunteers no doubt, and have trimmed the pathway up the side. So this isn't the way to Sisbury, which one would normally walk. It goes a little up to the side. So I thought it would be quite fun just to explore this, just to make it a bit different from previous walks. Again, very overgrown, so we'll see how far we get anyway. Clearly it's going up the side, so it's quite steep. We start to see some views now behind me, which is one of the things I wanted to get, just some nice views, some of the landscape. I've actually come out at the side of the golf course. Now I believe there's two golf courses here, actually side by side. I forget the name of the other one. One's either the Worthing golf course and one's Hill Barn golf course, something like that. But I get a view of the sea. It's a bit distant, so I haven't got my long lens with me. And the path continues up behind me, so let's go further and see where that one goes. Presumably that does head up now towards Sisbury again. Luckily I do know where I am. Actually, I've been on this path several times. It's come onto a path which crosses between what I think they're water tanks, probably Southern Water, where water storage is up on the downs, and then it uses gravity to bring it down into the town. I think that's what that is. And this is just a path that goes between two northward pathways or north-south pathways. And it's good to see here there's a lot more berries on the trees for the birds and well, rodents and whatever who eat them that drop on the floor, and various things going forward into the winter. So that's good to see. Well, this is quite beautiful. This is quite beautiful. So beautiful I repeated it twice. I've come out basically over there. The first path I was on is on that side of the screen, and I've come over that hill and basically up this ridge here, and now I'm strolling up the path which comes up this side. Of course, I've got the sun behind me. And it's beautifully warm on the back of my neck and on my back, and although it's a little windy, I can tell you it's invigorating. And I suppose this is why it's one of my favourite walks. It's because it's a stone's throw really. I mean, I parked, it's about a mile up to park from the house. I could walk it, but you go through the houses. I've done that before, but on this occasion, sorry about the wind. On this occasion, I just wanted to get into the countryside as soon as I physically could. As I make my way up towards the top, what I'm going to do is go to the top, go westwards, and then come back down the track that I started on, and then head to the van. You come where the foliage and the undergrowth here, the plants, bushes change quite a bit as you get to the top of the downs. And here I'm surrounded by gorse or firs, as you used to read it in the old books when they described the top of the downs covered in this fir. Yeah, So I'll be there very shortly, whoops, and then I'll make my way back and start to think about this pie. Right, that's the fire lit. I'm back. So I've lit the Esse now, and I'm going to go check out my ingredients, make sure I've got everything that I need to make pastry for the chicken, the leeks. I need to go shopping for those, maybe a couple of onions, and then whatever else I'm going to have on the side, and also work out what I'm going to do with the potatoes. So, and then fingers crossed the lovely Julia will be over to sample it and say whether it's any good or not. That's the plan. I feel invigorated though that I've been out for my walk. So, ingredients. So for the purposes of speed more than anything else, I'm going to be making this in a bit of a slipshod fashion. There's the word, knew it'd get there. So most important, I have the leeks, which is good. I've got an onion here, which I shall also use. To make the pastry, which I'm going to do from scratch, I've got some butter and lard. I'm using up bits that I've got at home. And of course I need some plain flour. Chicken bits are in the fridge. And I've just got to make that decision, which of these two pans. I've got a big one or a slightly smaller one. Well, it's only Julia and I. Julia doesn't have a huge appetite. I sometimes do, but I'm going to stick with the smaller one because notoriously I found whenever I've made pastry, I've never made enough quite to do both the inside and then the top of this. So I'm going to stick with the smaller one, which means that there'll be more chicken and more leek and onion and whatever else I want to shove in it to make it all compact. So hopefully not too much pastry and more chicken and filling. That's what we want. So the other thing I need, of course, is a mixing bowl and a sieve, and I need to weigh out the amount of flour and the what do you call it? Not margarine, the butter and the lard that I'm going to use. So I've already weighed out the flour. And I'm going to got 250 grams of that, and I understand that what you need is half the weight of this in butter and lard. So what did I say that was? 250. So half of 25 is 12 and a half. So that's 125 of butter and lard, and if that's 125, and then half of 12 is 6, so about 60 something of each of those grams. So I've got to weigh that out. Unfortunately, the battery in my little weighing scales is just conked out, just to, you know, add things up. So I'm going to guesstimate. So I've done the sieving, all in there, looks good, and I've kind of guesstimated. I managed to get the little scales to work a little bit, so I think I've got the right proportion. I couldn't quite work that out because it seemed to be 250 grams of that, and yet half of that 50 grams seemed to be several tubs of the thing. So that can't be right. Anyway, I think I've got about the right. Now, the other thing is I heard, looking on a quick reminder on a video to remind myself how to make pastry, short crust pastry I think this is, that you should do this really in a blender, because the less the human hand gets on it, the better, because that warms it up and can make it greasy. I had a look at my blender. I can't use it. I've got none of these swizzy things that go around, so I could put it in there, turn it on, and nothing would happen. So I'm going to use a fork as much as I can until I can get this into what looks like breadcrumbs. Right, bit of a catastrophe. I had to double the amount of fat that went in because stupidly I'd halved it and then halved it again and I got confused. So anyway, I think that we've got it more or less right using a fork. So I haven't touched it. Human hands have not touched this as yet. Human breath is all over it now. Don't let that worry you. So I've shoved some salt in, hopefully enough, and then the next thing is to, I believe you add water, and then that brings it together, and then you carefully shove it in a thing, stick it in the fridge for at least half an hour, which is great because I need to shove some more logs on the Esse and sort out then the onion and the leek, and if I'm going to put some liquid in with the chicken. And then I can roll it all out. Marvellous. It's all going swimmingly now. I hope it is. So some time has passed. I've added the chicken, which was already cooked, to the mix of the leeks and onions, and I've added a little bit of a stock cube and a little bit of water into it just to make it a bit more moist. I'm doing this without actually looking up how you do it. This is all on spec. I've just, as you saw, shoved another log in the oven, and I think now it's time to get the pastry and see if it will roll out. Well, I've made more than I actually needed of the pastry. I've completely cocked that up, and although it's in, and I had a few attempts to do that, which is why I haven't shown you everything, because it was a bit of a nightmare. I have got the pastry around, so now I just need to put this stuff in and put a lid on it and stick it in the oven. Meanwhile, the phone's ringing. It's all go today. Right, don't ask me to do anything like this again, because this has just been a nightmare to try and film, cook in a room with a hot Esse and try and do a pie. But it's been fun. I've kind of got it here together. I know it looks a mess. I don't really do this sort of thing, but I love the challenge and it's been a laugh. I've worked up myself an appetite from the walk. I've managed to cook this. I'm going to bung it in the oven now. I don't know how long to leave it in there. I'll try about 20 minutes and see how it does. It may need a bit more. I may have to cover the top so it doesn't burn, but we'll cross that bridge when it comes to it. And then the next challenge is to see what Julia thinks. So let's do that. Well, there it is. That's the pie out of the oven. Now, I don't know what time Julia's coming, so we'll get her reaction when she does, but I think it might need a little bit of gravy or something to go with it, because the pastry just looks a little crumbly, but everything's cooked on the inside, so I may just go and sample it myself, and then when Julia's here we'll get her reaction. I couldn't wait. I needed to have a try. I needed to test it out to see what I think. Chicken tastes great. The leek tastes good. The pie is disgusting. It's horrible. It's crumbly, doesn't taste like it's been cooked. It tastes just like lard and flour mixed together. I don't know what's missing. I don't know what I've done wrong, but that's like no other pie I've ever tried. I can't give this to Julia. She's gonna hate it. Well, that was a complete disaster. There's still time. I can nip over to the supermarket, buy a pie, shove it in the oven, and pretend I made it. I wonder if I could do that. I'll never get away with it. Oh, what a nightmare. Maybe if I scrape the pie off and do something with I could buy some ready-made pastry. I'm never going to get away with it. I'm never going to get away with it. Oh, what a disaster!